All right, a first order of business. Did anybody lose a women's watch? I assume this is a women's watch. I know Matt Murphy has dainty wrists, so this could be Matt Murphy's. But if it's not, I've got this up here. All right, so whoever this is, come on up and we'll... It's not a raffle prize, it's just yours. I also have, before we get to the speakers, I have a bit of breaking news. So you're going to want to listen to this. A bit of breaking news. Dick Durbin just tweeted, this just came over the transom, Dick Durbin tweeting this: "It's time to get the money out of politics and make elections about who has the best ideas." Dick Durbin has just conceded the U.S. Senate seat. So I know Jim Oberweis is not here tonight, but congratulations to Jim Oberweis on that victory. And now, before we hear from Governor-elect Rauner, we're going to hear from three of our other statewide candidates, starting with Paul Schimpf. Paul Schimpf is running for Attorney General against Lisa Madigan. And here's all the... Paul's going to say a lot about his background and what he plans to do as Attorney General, but let me just crystallize the race for you in one sentence, because races are about contrast, right? So Paul Schimpf is Marine, JAG Corps officer. He was part of the group responsible for finding and prosecuting Saddam Hussein. So our candidate for Attorney General was part of a group who found a despot in a spider hole in the middle of a desert and prosecuted them to the fullest extent of the law. Their 12-year incumbent Attorney General can't find a corrupt public official in Illinois. There's your choice in November. Paul Schimpf.
Thank you, Dan, for the introduction and stealing my thunder. Also, thank you all to you all for coming out tonight and giving me the opportunity to introduce myself to you. My name is Paul Schimpf, and I'm running for Illinois Attorney General because our state desperately needs an Attorney General who's not beholden to the insiders and special interest groups in either political party. Now, as Dan mentioned, I had something to do with prosecuting the Ace of Spades in Baghdad. All I'm going to say about that tonight is once you've dealt with him, corruption in Springfield, Illinois doesn't seem so intimidating anymore. No. Now, in addition to doing that, I've also been a prosecutor for the Marine Corps. I was the head prosecutor for the Western Recruiting Region, prosecuted attempted murder, rape, sexual assault cases. Basically, you name it, I prosecuted it. I also, before I was a lawyer for the Marines, I was an infantry officer, so I know a little bit about fighting, although not as much as Larry Cafish. Stand up, Larry. Three combat tours in Afghanistan, folks. And I'm going to go a little bit off script, but if there are any other veterans in the audience, could you please stand up as well and be recognized? So I know a little bit about fighting, and I am honored to be fighting alongside this man, Bruce Rauner, to take back Illinois and fix our state. You get to know people on the campaign trail. Pat Quinn is not going to know what hit him when Bruce Rauner gets done with him, and I'm really excited about Bruce's campaign, and I think he's going to make a fantastic governor. But one of the chief threats that our state faces is political corruption. And it's not Bruce Rauner's job to fight corruption. That should be the Attorney General's job. And if you elect me as your Attorney General, fighting corruption is going to be my #1 priority. Now, folks, this is going to be a tough race against Lisa Madigan, but it is a winnable race. There was a poll that came out today, over 1,000 likely voters. We're actually within 16 points of Lisa Madigan. We're ahead downstate and tied in the collar counties. We got some work to do in the cities, but 16 points, folks, coming from nowhere to be within 16 points of Lisa Madigan 4.5 months out. This is a winnable race. We are going to flip this state. The reason it's a winnable race, and I'm going to close with this, is our message. Our message is self-evidently true. If you want somebody to actually do something about corruption in this state, it can't be a political insider. It's got to be somebody like me. If you want somebody to fight corruption, protect your medical and financial privacy under this train wreck that is Obamacare, and actually defend your constitutional rights and freedoms, you need to place your trust in me. You need to trust a retired Marine, not the Madigan machine. Thank you and God bless.
Yeah, Paul talking about political corruption. It was interesting. It was just the other week that on the same day, 2 Democrat state reps were being arraigned in court at the same time, one for taking a bribe and the other for child pornography, or what we call in Illinois just another day in politics. So we could certainly use some change of leadership at the Attorney General level. Also, just quickly, Paul pointed out Larry Cafish, who's running against Tammy Duckworth, another winnable race. People don't think it could be won, but it's a winnable race. In addition to that, we have a host of state legislative candidates here today that I hope you'll meet that really are going to be the key to swinging the pendulum in the House, in the Senate, and giving Bruce Rauner something other than a superminority with which to work in the General Assembly. Because if we think about the governors that we talk about all the time, the successful governors in the Midwest that we want to emulate, Scott Walker in Wisconsin, Mitch Daniels, and now Mike Pence in Indiana, Rick Snyder in Michigan. One of the things they had, in addition to their own leadership capacities and their policy vision, is they had Republican control of their state legislatures. So that's really important because this is not a one-man gig, as I think Bruce would be the first to admit, and he needs people that he can work with in the General Assembly to advance an overarching, comprehensive reform agenda for Illinois, just as we have seen Republican governors do in our Midwestern neighbors. So meet Jim Moynihan, meet Kathy Miles, meet Ramiro Juarez, meet Don Wilson. There's other, meet Mel Thillins. There's a ton of legislative candidates in North and Northwest Suburban, Cook County, up into Lake County that are mission critical for us getting out of the superminority and moving our way to that magic 60 number, particularly in the House, and ultimately the magic 30 number at some point in the Senate over the next couple cycles. And that begins in 2016, where we have great opportunities at the legislative level, just as we do at the statewide level. Next statewide candidate I want to introduce you to, hear from, offer a few words. He's running for Secretary of State against Jesse White, and his name is Mike Webster.
Not a long speech. No. They told me I had as much time as I want because Bruce doesn't have a lot to say tonight. So, but I would like to thank you for having me here tonight, and I really appreciate having the moment to speak in front of you. I am Mike Webster. I'm your nominee for Secretary of State. I know a lot of you in this audience. It's been great to get to know you. I appreciate all your help in the primary, in the primary election. I think the general election, I hope, will be just as big a runaway as I had in the primary. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a practicing attorney. I have an office in Naperville. Been married to my wife, Sandy, who's here with me tonight, since 1992. We have 4 beautiful daughters. One's in college, 3 in high school. Part of the reason I'm running is because they don't want me in the House anyway. So I could spend a lot of time in Springfield. But I just want to say, talk about our current Secretary of State. In 2010, when he was elected to his 4th term in office, one of the things he said was that was going to be his last term. Little did he know how right he was back then. And as he celebrates his 80th birthday next Monday, I ask all of you to join me and all the voters of all around the state of Illinois in wishing him the best in his retirement. We've already seen that this is not going to be a normal election year. You know, the voters are demanding a lot of things change, and I think the pundits out there are going to be in for a few more surprises. You met Paul just a few minutes ago. Now you're meeting me tonight. We're gonna change some things in Springfield, and we're gonna show the people in this state. We're gonna show the people around this whole country that Illinois has decided that it's time to change. That we're gonna make a clean break from our corrupt past. You know, it's time for change. It's time to end the corruption. You know, the one-party rule in Illinois is going to be no longer. There's no more special deals. There's no more, you know, special privileges to certain people. We're going to work for the entire state. Families in Illinois are struggling, and it's time. It's time to send people to Springfield that are willing to work for the hardworking people of the state of Illinois and not just the privileged few. So as we get going this summer, we're going to campaign hard throughout the whole state. People are going to get to know me, and they're going to realize that we have a real campaign going forward. One of the programs that we're going to roll out, and you're going to hear a lot about it this summer, is my Forward Illinois plan. We're going to turn the Secretary of State's office into an advocate for businesses in this state, not the regulatory burden that it is. And you know what that's going to do? That's going to provide the current job providers in Illinois for a reason to stay here in Illinois. It's going to provide the new job creators a reason to create jobs in Illinois, and if they do that, it's going to put Illinois residents back to work. So that's the plan we have, and it's time. It's working in our neighbor states. There's no reason we can't make that work for Illinois too. So we got some exciting things that we're going to roll out here over the summer, and I can't wait to get started in Springfield. So we can't send Bruce to Springfield alone, so I'm asking for all your support this summer and for everybody up and down the ticket. So thanks again for having me tonight. And
We've come a long way in the state treasurer's office from having a failed mob banker as our state treasurer, and that was just 4 years ago. So we aspire to continue that upward trajectory this year with a familiar face, former House Republican leader, State Representative Tom Cross, our candidate for state treasurer.
Well, good evening. I just want to make one comment before I get started on my race. You may know this, Dan and I don't always agree on everything, but few of you know that. You should listen to us show more. But I do, Dan. I do. But I'll tell you where we agree on one thing, and that's Jack Rozier. And this, you may find this a little surprising, but I spent a lot of time in Jack's office, in the Liberty office, having lunch. And I see Jim Bassett here and Jesse and others. And while Jack and I disagreed strongly on some issues, we agreed on a lot, and we agreed about where we wanted the state to go. And I have not met a man like Jack in a long time who cared as deeply as he does and did about this country and about this state. And he was a good person. So Dan, we share that in common. And to all those. Why treasurer, and why is the state of the treasurer's office that important? When you look at the condition of this state, and most of us know it, it's abysmal. Whether it's the worst bond rating in the country, the worst funded pension system in the country, second highest or third highest unemployment rate in the country, haven't had a balanced budget in 10 years, the numbers are staggering. In fact, we have the second highest migration rate in the country. People leaving at an alarming rate. And I think if you're paying attention to this race, if Bruce Rauner doesn't win the governor's race, that number will increase on the migration rate to a number we don't want to see. And that's why this race for governor is that critical, and why we need Bruce to win. I I have to tell you, you know what the first state is in terms of migration here in this country? It's New Jersey. They're number one. And as we've talked about a little bit on the campaign trail, I've come to the conclusion that maybe Governor Christie closed that bridge on purpose because he doesn't want people leaving New Jersey at the alarming rate that they've been leaving. We don't have a bridge to close, so we have to fix things. And one of the things that struck me as I decided to run for treasurer is we haven't had a balanced budget in 10 years. And because we haven't had a balanced budget, we now owe almost $5 to $6 billion in unpaid bills. That cost us as a state over $300 million in late fees and penalties. If you're a nursing home provider, a physician, a pharmacy, a hospital, a school district, we owe you money. And if you're a small provider that gives maybe substance abuse treatment in Schaumburg or Palatine, you're lucky if you can stay in business. That's unacceptable. And one of the things that we need to do, and where we can use the Treasurer's Office in a proactive, aggressive way, is to make sure we honor our Constitution. Our Constitution mandates that we balance the budget. And if I'm elected treasurer, and I'm fortunate enough to be elected treasurer, we will require that the General Assembly and the governor follow our Constitution and balance the budget. And if that means taking somebody like Mike Madigan to court to enforce our Constitution, we will do that. It's that important. There are other things that we want to do. We have to watch the money. We have to do Bright Start. But at the end of the day, we can use these offices to engage in a way to turn this state around and give support to a General Assembly and give it support to a guy like Bruce Rauner, who I do believe will be our next governor. This is a great state. You wouldn't be here tonight if you didn't care about Illinois. We have the best farmland in the world. We have great hospitals. We have great universities. We have great schools. We want it to be saved. And the only way we do that is to elect the people here tonight. Now, one of the things that I get scared about is we're getting a little ahead of ourselves. The numbers are good. We're excited about the poll results. They're good in Bruce's race. They're good in our race. They're good in some legislative races. But we have a long way to go. The Democrats don't always play fair. They'll fight. They'll get dirty. They'll try to steal elections. We need to go strong until the very last day. And Tommy Lasorda, great manager for the Los Angeles Dodgers, used to say to his players, as they came around third base, he had a tendency to want to look back and see what was coming. He said, don't turn around till you cross home plate. We can't turn around till we cross home plate, till Bruce gets elected, to Mike, to Paul, and all the other people here tonight. Thank you very, very much, and have a great night. Bruce, thank you very much. Bruce, Dan.
And Tom is right about the need for ballot security, the need for GOTV right up through the finish line. As some of you probably following the General Assembly at the end of session, Democrats with ballot initiatives and creative voter enfranchisement legislation did everything just short of declaring that Democrats shall receive 50% plus one of the vote by law at the end of session. So it's going to take a lot of investment and a lot of hard work and boots on the ground, maybe not in Iraq, but boots on the ground here in Illinois in November to make sure that we have a free and fair election, if nothing but for the novelty of it here in Illinois.